And if you actually get to know what happens behind the scenes, there wasn't enough applications coming from the northeast. That's why there wasn't enough money coming in.
Yeah.
We weren't being confident enough. We were quite insulated, and in the northeast, and actually people actually having the confidence to go, right, I'm good enough to get national funding, and there is the talent here. So we're starting to see it locally, that more people are prepared to apply to the council first, and it's almost a sort of stepping stone to applying nationally. So I'd like to think that as long as we keep that up, if we're having this conversation, I don't think for a second you're going to match the level of investment in Glasgow and Edinburgh. But if you can get closer to the per head figure, the impact that would have locally would be great. But I think we're in the right direction. I don't think it's doom and gloom, and I don't blame Creative Scotland at all.
Well, I think it's a vicious circle as well. People don't see a lot of grant funding coming up to this area, so they say, oh well, that's not for us, so they don't bother applying. I've had that conversation so many times, saying, oh, it only goes to the central belt, they don't never give it to anyone up here. Do you ever apply? You know, because they... And also, a funny thing, it was on, because it seems like there's a picture that nothing happens in the northeast, which is like kind of true, because on the Creative Scotland website there's a little drop-down map, a cultural map of Scotland, and you could search for what artistic activity, what organisations were having in different areas. For example, Highlands, Click, Eden Court, blah blah blah, a whole screed of things that were happening. Central Belt, blah blah blah, North East. Sorry, there were no results from your inquiry. Sorry, what? So I had this sort of running email argument with somebody at Creative Scotland, and it was turned out it was like a glitch on their website.
Right, okay.
But it looked, it just looked like there was nothing happening in Aberdeen. So they very kindly removed that whole section so it wouldn't give a skewed picture of the cultural picture of Scotland. So.
I think it's not being scared to just keep applying, because it's open all the time. If you don't succeed, try going for just a portion of the project. So you might have a massive project that involves all sorts of different aspects, recording and touring, and just go for one aspect of that, or give people a call. And but I think also that whole northeast thing could be used as a hook for a lot of artists. So there's maybe not so much funding coming here because people aren't aware of, hopefully that's going to change, and people will be applying more. But there's so much culture in the northeast region that could be used as a, in the application itself. I'm doing all this music and it's about whatever to do with the northeast and or the language, or there's so much that we could use in our favour.
We've we as a council have not helped markers in the past by only funding activity that takes place in the city, but increasingly we've been prepared to support tours, performances that go actually brings activity. Still not had that many applications, but in this effect. But if you were thinking about it, we'd be willing to support things that bring stuff down into Glasgow and Edinburgh, as long as you can show the link about how that would raise the profile. We've never supported things like that in the past. It's been difficult to justify because it's not taken place in the city. But we have supported, I think, 2 or 3 people to do different performances in the Central Belt. I think that's something we need to continue, because it starts to raise awareness of what's happening in the North East, and the knock-on effect is that it's more likely to help applications from artists here in the future, because people start to recognise things are going on.
Mm-hmm. I suppose from a Creative Scotland perspective, it's not like our office is we've got our main office in Edinburgh and a smaller office in Glasgow. It's not like we sit there and just go, right, let's see who we can fund in Edinburgh and Glasgow, and if somebody from Aberdeen comes, then I suppose we can maybe give them some if they ask nicely. But we're sort of hyper aware of the relatively small amount of funding. The relatively small amount of funding that goes to Aberdeen, but also the relatively small number of applications that come from the North East. And that's something that's happening that we're very, very aware of. We talk about in our all-staff meetings that we see in our senior leadership team meeting minutes. And there are sort of things happening, 3 or 4 levels above me that we're talking about, and sort of working long term to look at. But I suppose, just at the sort of very short-term thing is that, you know, I suppose one thing is that a lot of, like, a real positive if you're in Glasgow or Edinburgh is that it's easier to do sort of face-to-face meetings. You can just sort of say, hey, are you there to sort of come for a coffee, etc. Which, you know, which is an absolute positive, but in terms of, I want to be there, and I think everybody at my level is there on email. We're there on Skype, and we also want to come to a lot more things like this. You know, meet face to face, be in the city, you know, whenever we can, and that's not just the northeast. That's, you know, throughout Scotland. So yeah, we're all very aware of not sort of leaving anyone behind.